constructed, warm and safe haven. Remy had spent a lot of time making it comfortable, lining it with soft materials he found around the village. It was his sanctuary, a place where he could retreat and think about his next adventure. Remy loved cheese and berries. These were his favorite treats, and he would often go on little expeditions to find them. The village was full of hidden treasures, and Remy knew exactly where to look. He had a mental map of all the best spots to find the juiciest berries and the creamiest cheese. But most of all, he loved outsmarting Felix the cat. Felix was the baker's cat, and he was always on the lookout for Remy. The two had a long-standing rivalry, and their encounters were the stuff of legend. Remy took great pride in his ability to outwit Felix, turning their cat and mouse game into a thrilling adventure.
Felix is always trying to catch me, but I'm too quick and too smart. I've learned all his tricks and know how to stay one step ahead. It's like a game to me, and I always make sure to win. Felix might be fast, but I'm faster. He might be clever, but I'm cleverer. I know all the hiding places in the village and always have a trick up my sleeve. From the narrow alleyways to the hidden nooks in the bakery, I have a secret spot for every occasion. No matter how hard Felix tries, he can never find me. It's all about knowing your environment and using it to your advantage.
One sunny afternoon, Remy scurried out of his hole. The sun was shining brightly and the village was bustling with activity. It was the perfect day for an adventure. Remy felt a sense of excitement as he emerged from his cozy home, ready to explore and find something delicious to eat. He was feeling very hungry. His stomach rumbled, reminding him that it was time to find some food. Remy had a keen sense of smell, and he knew that the village bakery was always a good place to start. The baker was known for making the most delicious bread, and Remy could already imagine the taste of a fresh, warm loaf. He could smell the delicious aroma of freshly baked bread. The scent wafted through the air, making his mouth water. It was irresistible, and Remy knew he had to get a closer look. The bakery was just a short scurry away, and he could already see the loaves of bread displayed in the window. It was coming from the bakery window. The sight of the golden brown loaves made Remy's heart race with anticipation. He knew that getting to the bread wouldn't be easy, but he was determined. The bakery was always a risky place because of Felix, but Remy was confident in his abilities. Remy knew he had to be careful. Felix was a formidable opponent, and one wrong move could mean trouble. Remy took a deep breath and reminded himself to stay focused. He had done this many times before, and he knew that patience and caution were key. Felix was probably lurking nearby. The cat had a sixth sense when it came to Remy, and he always seemed to know when the clever rat was up to something. Remy scanned the area, looking for any signs of the feline predator. He couldn't see Felix, but that didn't mean he wasn't there. Remy tiptoed towards the window, his whiskers twitching. Every step was calculated, and he moved with the grace and precision of a seasoned adventurer. The closer he got to the bakery, the stronger the smell of the bread became. Remy felt a surge of determination. He was going to get that bread no matter what. Felix the cat was very cunning. He was known throughout the village for his clever tricks and sharp mind. No one could outsmart Felix, not even the other animals who tried to avoid his cunning ways. Felix had a reputation, and he loved it. He had bright emerald eyes and sleek black fur that shimmered in the sunlight. His eyes were like two glowing gems, always alert and always watching. Felix's fur was so smooth and shiny that it looked like he had just been groomed, even when he hadn't. Felix also lived in the village, a quaint place with cobblestone streets and charming little houses. The villagers knew him well, and they often saw him prowling around looking for his next adventure. Felix loved the village. It was his playground. He dreamed of catching Remy the rat. Remy was the one creature that had always eluded him. Felix would often sit and daydream about the day he would finally catch that pesky rat. It was his greatest challenge and his greatest desire.
I've chased Remy for many months, but he always escapes. No matter how fast I run or how quietly I sneak, Remy always seems to be one step ahead. It's like he knows my every move before I make it. It's quite frustrating for a proud cat like me. I take pride in my hunting skills, and to be outsmarted by a rat is simply unacceptable. But I won't give up. I can't give up. My pride won't let me. But I'm determined to catch that rat one day. I know I can do it. I just need to be patient and wait for the perfect moment. Remy can't hide forever. I'll find him, and when I do, He'll regret ever crossing paths with Felix the Cunning.
One afternoon, Felix lay in wait near the bakery. The bakery was one of his favorite spots because it was always filled with delicious smells and tasty treats. Felix knew that if he waited long enough, Remy would show up. He knew Remy loved the baker's treats. The smell of freshly baked bread was irresistible, even to a rat. Felix had seen Remy sneaking around the bakery before, and he was sure that today would be the day he would catch him. Felix was sure Remy would come soon. He waited patiently, his eyes fixed on the bakery door. Every time it opened, Felix's heart would race with anticipation. He was ready to pounce at any moment. He could smell the fresh bread too. The aroma was so strong that it made Felix's mouth water, but he didn't let it distract him. He stayed focused, knowing that his patience would pay off. Felix twitched his whiskers excitedly. He could feel that something was about to happen. His instincts told him that Remy was near. Felix's whole body tensed with anticipation. He could hear tiny footsteps. Could it be Remy? Felix's ears perked up and he listened intently. The sound was faint, but it was definitely there. Felix's heart pounded in his chest as he prepared to make his move. Felix flattened his ears and prepared to pounce. He knew that this was his chance. He couldn't afford to miss it. Felix's muscles coiled like a spring, ready to unleash his speed and agility. This was the moment he had been waiting for. Remy saw Felix near the bakery window.
Oh dear, that cat is trouble, but I'm very hungry. I really want some bread.
Remy saw a shiny spoon on the ground. He had an idea. Remy pushed the spoon with his nose. It clattered loudly against a metal pot. The loud noise startled Felix. He jumped up in surprise. Felix looked around for Remy, but Remy had already disappeared. Felix was angry. He had lost Remy again. Felix hissed and stalked away.
I'll catch that rat another day.
The next day, the baker made a delicious cheese tart. He put it on the windowsill to cool. The sweet smell of cheese and pastry wafted through the air.
Oh my, that tart smells divine. I have to have a taste.
Carefully, Remy peeked out of his hole. He saw the tart on the windowsill. It looked so yummy. But then he saw Felix. Felix was sleeping near the window, but Remy knew he wasn't really asleep. Felix was waiting for him. Remy saw a small pebble near his hole. He also saw a puddle of water that the baker had spilled.
I have a plan.
Remy pushed the pebble with his nose. He aimed it towards the cheese tart. The pebble hit the wall behind the tart with a loud clink. The noise woke up Felix. He saw the cheese tart on the windowsill. Felix thought Remy was hiding behind it. He jumped up to catch Remy, but Felix didn't see the puddle of water. He landed right in the middle of it with a splash.
Meow.
Felix was soaking wet. Felix slipped on the wet floor. He tumbled over and over.
Whoa, whoa.
Felix landed with a bump right inside an empty basket. The basket was on its side. Felix tried to scramble out,
Oh no, not again.
but the basket rolled over, trapping him inside. Remy watched from his hole. He couldn't believe his luck.
Felix is trapped, and I'm free to enjoy the cheese tart.
Remy scurried out of his hole. He ran towards the windowsill, his tiny heart racing with excitement. He had outsmarted Felix again. Remy climbed onto the windowsill. He stood on his hind legs and sniffed the cheese tart. It smelled even better up close.
This smells amazing.
Remy took a tiny nibble of the tart. It was delicious. The cheese was creamy and the pastry was flaky. Remy closed his eyes and savored the taste.
I can't eat too much. The baker will be back soon.
Remy took one last lick of the cheese filling, then he scurried back to his hole, leaving a few tiny crumbs behind. Remy had outwitted Felix and enjoyed a tasty treat to Felix finally pushed the basket over. It had taken him quite a bit of effort, but he was determined. The basket had been a formidable obstacle, but Felix was nothing if not persistent. He had been chasing Remy, the clever little rat, all morning. The chase had led him through the kitchen, over the dining table, and finally into the living room where the basket lay. Felix had thought he had Remy cornered, but the rat had other plans. He crawled out, feeling grumpy and wet. The basket had been filled with water from the morning's rain, and now Felix was drenched. His fur clung to his body, making him look smaller and more pitiful than usual. He shook himself, trying to get rid of the excess water, but it was no use. He was soaked to the bone. Felix hated being wet. It made him feel vulnerable and uncomfortable, but he couldn't let that stop him. He had a mission to complete. Felix saw the crumbs on the windowsill. They were a clear sign that Remy had been there. The little rat was always leaving clues behind, almost as if he wanted Felix to follow him. Felix jumped up onto the windowsill and sniffed the crumbs. They were fresh. Remy couldn't be far. Felix's eyes scanned the room, looking for any sign of movement. He knew Remy was close. He could feel it.
Remy tricked me again, Felix thought to himself. The little rat was always one step ahead. It was frustrating, but also exhilarating. Felix loved the challenge. He loved the thrill of the chase. And he loved the way Remy always managed to outsmart him. It kept things interesting. It kept Felix on his toes.
Felix looked at Remy's hole. It was a small, almost invisible crack in the wall. But Felix knew it well. It was Remy's hideout, the place where the little rat always retreated to when things got too heated. Felix crouched down and peered into the hole. He could just make out the faint outline of Remy's tiny body. He saw two tiny eyes peeking out. Felix chuckled softly. Remy was watching him, waiting to see what he would do next. Felix knew he couldn't reach the rat in his hideout. It was too small for him to get into, but that didn't matter. The game wasn't over yet. Felix had plenty of tricks up his sleeve.
"You're a clever one, Remy," Felix said, his voice filled with admiration. He couldn't help but respect the little rat. Remy was a worthy opponent, and Felix loved a good challenge. He loved the way Remy always kept him guessing. It made the game all the more fun.
Felix didn't chase after Remy. He knew it was pointless. The little rat was safe in his hideout, but that didn't mean the game was over. Felix would just have to wait for the next opportunity. He would have to be patient, and Felix was nothing if not patient. He knew he couldn't catch him today, but that was okay. There would be other days, other opportunities. Felix was in no rush. He enjoyed the game. He enjoyed the thrill of the chase. And he enjoyed the way Remy always managed to keep him on his toes. Besides, Felix enjoyed their little game. It was a welcome distraction from the monotony of village life. It gave him something to look forward to, something to keep him occupied. And Felix loved the way the game always kept him guessing. It was never the same. It was always different, always exciting. It made life in the village more exciting. The village was a quiet place, not much happened there, but the game with Remy added a bit of excitement, a bit of adventure. It made life more interesting, and Felix loved it. He loved the way the game always kept him on his toes. It was never boring. It was always fun.
"I'll catch you another day, Remy," Felix said, his voice filled with determination. He knew he would catch the little rat eventually. It was just a matter of time. Felix was patient, he was persistent, and he was determined. He would catch Remy. He just had to wait for the right opportunity. "But for now, enjoy your victory," Felix said, his voice filled with a mix of admiration and frustration. Remy had won this round, but the game was far from over. Felix would be back. And next time he would be ready. He would be prepared. And he would catch Remy.
Felix licked his paw and cleaned his wet fur. He needed to get dry. He needed to get comfortable. The game had been exhausting, but it had also been fun. Felix loved the way the game always kept him on his toes. It was never boring. It was always exciting. He would catch Remy another day. Felix was sure of it. He just had to be patient. He just had to wait for the right opportunity. And Felix was nothing if not patient. He would catch Remy. It was just a matter of time. But for now, he would let the clever rat enjoy his victory. Felix lay down in the sun, feeling the warmth on his fur. He closed his eyes and sighed contentedly. The game was over for now, but it would start again soon. And Felix would be ready. He would be prepared, and he would catch Remy. But for now, he would rest. He would enjoy the peace and quiet, and he would dream of the next chase. Remy and Felix continued to live in the village. They would often chase each other around the bakery. Sometimes Remy would outsmart Felix. Other times Felix would get very close